Hi, everybody. I just wanted to share my experience with COVID 19. I was diagnosed with COVID 19 and I stayed in quarantine for 2 weeks, like recommended. So, right now, I'm working in Alaska, and the company that I work for has a plant that has different cabins for different people that are living here during the summer to work for their company. When we found out that I was exposed to COVID 19, I was quarantined in my cabin by myself. The only place that I went was to the bathroom, which was a couple of yards away. I had a special bathroom just for me that was for quarantine people. So I just kind of want to share my experience with what I went through. So the first thing was that symptoms that I had was a fever. And fever, I guess the first thing I should talk about. So COVID 19 can be a deadly virus, which is really scary, but especially if you have underlying health issues. So my underlying health issues that I have that are on the list of things that you need to be concerned about. I am high risk for diabetes. It does run in my family, and I do have. Right now, my blood sugar is under control and has been for years, but I have had issues with my blood sugar in the past. So I'm not diabetic, but I am high risk. I am morbidly obese, and I also have very mild asthma. I have never been on an inhaler, but I have had to do breathing exercises in order to open my throat again when I've had mild asthmatic attacks. So those are the only underlying things that I have. Again, nothing that's really serious affecting. I don't actually have diabetes and I don't have severe asthma. I have had pneumonia. I have had the flu. I have had H1N1 flu. And I have had bronchitis before. I have an undiagnosed chest pain. They think it is my lungs. They know it is not my heart. But I can't tell you what that is, and I can't deny that that's probably part of my problem. So the first symptom that I experienced with COVID 19 was the fever. The fever happened quickly. So I was feeling a little sick, not anything bad. I had a slight fever, which is completely normal for me. I have fevers all the time. I am constantly at 98 and higher. We have to take our temperature every day at work, and I am always right on the edge. If it's 99 or higher, then you need to go home. I am always at 98 point something. Very rarely am I at 97 or 96, which is where most people live. So I didn't have a 99 fever or anything. I just didn't feel really great. And then I started to feel better, and I had to work late. I work in the fishing industry in the summers, and so we had boats out really late, and it was about 10:30 at night, and I just felt it. my body changed. My head started hurting. Really, really, really bad headache, and really, really, really bad fever. Like I said, I'm used to having a hot head. I'm used to having a fever, but this was really, really bad. And I came home and I tried to sleep, and it just got so bad. I was freezing. I had chills, and I've had the chills before in my life, where you just can't get warm even though your head is super hot. So because I've had that before with other sicknesses and other times that I've been exposed to extreme temperatures, I got into the shower and I had it on hot, as hot as it would go. My skin was just burning red, but I still had goosebumps because I still had the chills. I was in there for probably about 45 minutes to an hour, just in this ridiculous hot water. Luckily, the complex that I'm staying at had that much hot water, and because I was staying at my brother's house, not at the plant. So my fever broke. I made it to my bed and I stayed and I just sweat the whole night. I was hot, but I didn't have the chills anymore because my fever had, because of the hot shower, my fever had broken. So I don't know if that's the right terminology, but I didn't have the chills anymore. I was just hot and I just kind of sweated out the night. I woke up in the morning. I felt okay. I just still didn't feel good, but I didn't have a fever anymore. I went to work, didn't have a fever. I told my boss, and my brother who I was staying with, said that he might have been exposed to it. So we waited for his results that afternoon. As soon as we got his results, he had it, and so I went directly into quarantine at the plant. I came and got my stuff from my brother's house and went into quarantine immediately. I was in quarantine for a couple of days, and then I went and got the test and was officially diagnosed with COVID-19. And for 14 days since my symptoms started, I was in quarantine at the plant, only going from my little cabin to the bathroom. So, the other symptoms that I experienced while I was in the little cabin were you lose your sense of smell, which I always thought because I read that was one of the symptoms, I always attributed that to when you get a cold or something, your nose gets stuffy, and when your nose gets stuffy, you can't smell. That's not what happened. With COVID-19, I didn't have a stuffy nose at all, but I couldn't smell. I could breathe through my nose perfectly fine, but I couldn't smell anything. Had a couple of interesting experiences with that. One was I had a bottle of essential oils. My mom sells essential oils. I cannot stand the smell of them, but I have one that is kind of like a cure-all. It's really, really cinnamony, very strong smell, and I had it all the way up to my nose. I can't even be in the car when someone opens a bottle of essential oils because the smell is too strong for me. But I had it right up to my nose. It actually touched my skin and started burning my skin because, like I said, it was pure cinnamon, and it was burning my skin, and I still couldn't smell it. So losing your sense of smell is very weird. I also walked into a bathroom that had just been cleaned with bleach and had no idea. My eyes started burning, my throat started scratching, and I was like, what is happening? It was really scary. I was like, I don't know what's going on. I can't breathe. And then I came out and the cleaning guy was there, and he had just cleaned the bathroom with a lot of bleach and a lot of alcohol, and I couldn't smell it. Very weird. My taste buds also changed a little bit. Certain things I could still taste, but ice cream, cake, or things that have a sweet flavor, nothing sweet. I couldn't taste anything sweet. I could sometimes taste if a piece of meat had a lot of flavoring on it, a lot of seasoning, I could sometimes taste it on the side of my tongue, but it really nothing really tasted the same, especially since I couldn't smell anything. I also I have some Power Bars that were peanut butter flavored, and I don't really like peanut butter flavoring. And I tried, and I was like, hey, I can eat these Power Bars now because I can't taste anything and I can't smell anything. So they probably, will taste just the same as everything else does, just kind of bland. I was wrong. They were disgusting. They were way worse when I couldn't taste anything than they were when I could taste them, and I didn't like them when I could taste them. Oh, so if you have COVID-19 and you lose your taste buds, it doesn't mean that you can eat things that taste bad. Just so you know. It doesn't work like that. They just taste worse. Another one of the symptoms that you have for COVID-19 is headaches. I get headaches a lot. That's something that just kind of runs in my family. Anytime I get even slightly dehydrated, I get a headache. If I sleep wrong, I'll get a headache. If my neck's out of place or something, I have lots of headaches. And so they were pretty bad. Ibuprofen makes them worse. Just so you know, don't take ibuprofen. That was on one of the medical things that I read, but I can tell you from experience, the first thing I did when I got a headache was I took headache medicine, and it didn't work. It didn't make it worse or anything. So I took ibuprofen in the appropriate amount of time. I took ibuprofen and it got worse. So it didn't make it unbearable or anything. Like I said, I've had migraines before. It wasn't like that. It was just a constant nagging headache, and the ibuprofen made it worse. So don't take ibuprofen. It just made it worse. And that just kind of happened randomly throughout the day and the night. Another symptom that I've experienced was fatigue. So I've had fatigue in different, like I said, I've had the flu, I've had the swine flu. There's different levels of fatigue that you have. Um, Especially being someone who's overweight, like you get fatigue. But this fatigue was different. It was it wasn't fatigue of like, oh, I'm usually when you're sick and you go out and you do something, you get really tired really fast because your breathing is kind of inhibited and you're not getting as, I don't know, you feel bad. And so like, if you have the flu and you go out and you do something, you get tired really fast. With this, I didn't have to do anything and I would get super tired. I would sleep for hours during the day, wake up, do something, and then go back to sleep for the night and sleep through the night. I spent most of my time sleeping because my body just needed sleep. It just needed rest to fight it. And so don't fight sleeping. It's good for you. It was the best thing it was the only thing I could have done because in quarantine I couldn't do anything. So I had to keep working, but again, I was in quarantine, so I was just filing and putting papers in order and putting logging information into the computer. I would have to stop, take an hour nap, get back to it, take another hour nap, get back to it. So I would end up working 8 hours a day, but they would not be consistent 8 hours because I had to stop and sleep. And so that was weird because typically you're tired, but you're not, like when you're sick, you're tired, but you're not sleepy. I was sleepy, like I could sleep. So that was one of the things that I experienced. Another one that I experienced was, I don't like, just kind of a malaise is what they said. You just feel sick. It's a different type of sick than I've ever felt. It kind of just under your skin, just uncomfortable. The way that I would describe it best is like if you're extremely cold or extremely hot and you're just uncomfortable, it's that kind of uncomfortable, but there's no like temperature. It's just uncomfortable. So, and yeah, you just know that something's off. It's kind of like if you don't take a shower for a really long time and you just kind of feel gross. That's kind of how it felt. You just don't feel good, and it was a different type of feeling that I'd ever had before. It's kind of like if you just have a headache, but throughout your whole body just kind of has one of those like twingy headaches that it's not necessarily like in any certain part of your head or anything like that. It's just one of those headaches that you just don't feel good. And that was what it was, but it was all over my body. That probably lasted a couple of days. And then it started slowly going away. My sense of smell was gone for probably about a week and a half. My sense of taste, same thing. And I was always excited. I'd be like, hey, I can smell dinner. Like, every time like it started coming back. That was probably the last thing that came back was the sense of smell and sense of taste. Because it was, even after my quarantine, I still had those two symptoms. And other things that took a long time. I think that was all the symptoms that I really experienced. I remember, but I can tell you right now, like I said, I had H1N1 before, and H1N1 was so much worse. It was horrible. It was the worst flu I've ever had, the worst cold I've ever had, the worst stomach bug I've ever had, and the worst fever I've ever had, all at the same time. COVID wasn't like that. It was weird symptoms, like losing my sense of smell and having a headache over my whole body and randomly falling asleep after doing nothing. It was a different type of sickness, but I would rather go through it again than through H1N1. Just me personally, with my history, that's how I felt. And now I will say the absolute worst thing about having COVID-19 was the people. 100%. People did not treat me well. People at the company, the higher ups, were very nice. They called, checked on me. People, if they saw me going to the bathroom or something from a distance, they would ask me how I was doing, but other people were not nice. Other people were very mean. Other people spread rumors about me, talked about me, tried to have me fired. A lot of people were mean to my relatives and chased them around, accosting them, writing mean notes to them, telling them that they hope they they get sick and have to spend time in the hospital. Really completely horrible things. People gave me dirty looks as I walked by. People legitimately ran away when I walked by. Like I said, the only time that I left my quarantine was to go to the bathroom, and that was a couple yards away. I was never endangering anybody else or anything like that. I would never do that. I would never try and scare somebody or hurt somebody who was afraid. But honestly, I just be kind. I can't stress that enough. If someone if you're afraid and someone has a wife or a child or friend or family member that has COVID-19, just be kind to them. Don't be mean. Don't yell at them or try and get them fired or leave mean notes or move their property to the garbage can. Just don't do that. That's horrible. And don't treat people badly just because they have a virus. Viruses travel. That's how they work. It's nobody's fault. I was following protocol. My brother was following protocol. Don't treat people horribly. And if you are sick, then, do what you're supposed to do when you're sick. Stay home. Quarantine yourself. Don't try and get other people sick. That's all you have to do is just be kind. And if you absolutely are so afraid that you cannot be kind and ask, and call someone on the phone and be like, hey, how are you doing? Or, bring them food and leave it on the doorstep or anything. If you can't do that, if you cannot bring yourself to do that, then just leave them alone. I understand being afraid, and hopefully sharing my experience with COVID-19 will make somebody out there a little less afraid. But if you are afraid, be kind. If you're not afraid, be kind. It is a sickness and it's not fun. And just be kind to the people that have it. Be kind to the people that are afraid of it. And be kind to the people that aren't afraid of it. That's all I have to say. Hopefully somebody gets something out of this. Hopefully it helps make somebody a little less afraid, and hopefully it makes somebody a little more kind. Because, like I said, the worst part of having this was not losing my sense of smell, was not worrying about dying, was not the horrible fever or the headaches. It was the way people treated me and seeing people's true colors. That was the worst part, by far. So, you can share this video, you can like this video, send it to someone who is concerned about having COVID-19 or what it feels like. Those are the symptoms that I experienced. Obviously, my experience is going to be different than everybody else's, but there it is. Thank you all, and remember to be kind.